Once upon a time, two men decided if they were making the cut. And then they made the cut. And now JT and Aaron are talking everything from wrestling to pop culture and beyond, because it's no holds barred.
Will you back down, turn and run, or stand up with the best? When your back's to the wall, what will your answer be? Will you run for the door? Will you run out on me like it's hard? It's
No holds barred. On the North-South Connection, video and audio.
Why are you wearing a New York Knicks hat?
Why not?
Why are you a fan of the New York Knicks?
I'm a basketball anarchist. No, what's agnostic.
Like
I don't really
like
have
it.
a favorite team.
That's how I am with hockey.
I just like basketball. And I went to a Knicks game last year, sat in the Taco Bell suite, which was awesome.
Nice.
And or Pepsi, I think it's technically the Pepsi suite. And I bought a hat, and I like the hat, so I wear it.
Very nice. So at the beginning of this year, I would say around September, I needed to buy a new hat. I'm not wearing one now because my hair's long, but I had to buy a new hat, and I went to a sports store, and the hat I loved was a Minnesota Timberwolves hat.
I have one.
And
I have
was
a
like,
Minnesota Timberwolves hat.
I just love the design. I love the symbol. I thought it was neat, so I started wearing it. But because I started wearing it, I was like, I better learn about this team because someone's going to start asking me, like. And
but
so
you
I
didn't get that game last night.
Well, I watched a bunch of games, and I ended up really actually liking the team. So it's funny how your fandom is.
My hair is long right now too. This is the longest non-pandemic time my hair has been probably since I was like a kid.
Wow. See, me, it's
because I have my headphone set off. Go ahead, say it again.
It's just the I haven't shaved is my difference because I haven't had a show in a week, so I no reason to shave.
I never shave anymore, and it's like bad, like to the point where I panic shave if I realize I have to go somewhere, like if I have to go in the office for work or something. Like I'm like, oh shit, like I look like a scrub. Or I had a funeral. I was a pallbearer at a funeral a few weeks ago.
Oh, yes. Were you doing that at the funeral?
I wanted to. And I realized like the night before, I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta shave. Like I look like a scrub. I can't go like this. But I actually wore a headband to basketball the other night, and it's the first time I've worn a headband ever because my hair was bothering me in my face.
How'd it feel?
Yeah, I liked it. It felt cool.
So I've had my hair long at various points. I used to have it longer, and I used to do all these simulations for certain things around here, and I got known as Bandana Man. So much so.
Bandana Man Dan?
Yeah, I was crossing a border at one point, and they were like, "Where do I know you from?" And my wife goes, "He's Bandana Man." And they're like, "Oh, I fucking knew it."
All right. Well, I'm known as January 4th, 1999 Raw Man around these parts. And this Noel's Bard officially every other week here. We are going through every WWE World Title change ever. We started with the first one with Bruno back in the day.
Buddy
Rogers. We are now on our 42nd World Title change. And tonight we are talking Mankind versus The Rock. It was recorded, actually happened on December 29th, 1998. Aired January 4th, 1999. It's a very famous night in wrestling history. It's the night Tony Schiavone told us not going to put the butts in the seats. It's a big Nitro with Bill Goldberg in the police station and all that stuff at the Georgia Dome. So it's a pretty historic night. We actually did a Place to Be podcast years ago, breaking down the Raw and the Nitro, because Chad Campbell was actually at the Nitro, and I was at the Raw. So we did an episode kind of talking about both and breaking them down. I don't hold anything back on this being one of my favorite live experiences in wrestling history.
How could it not be?
It was just the whole top to bottom. I wrote a whole article about it at PlaceMation.com. I think it's still out there. There you go. It's still out there somewhere if you go searching for it, if you're really interested in the whole backstory of how we arrived in Worcester that night. But this match wasn't announced. I mean, it was made throughout the night, and it was a taped Raw.
Yeah, you thought you were just going to see a shitty taped Raw.
Yeah, you're not thinking anything big's going to happen. Right? Austin wasn't supposed to be there. He was still gone from Rock Bottom, and like Undertaker was going to be returning the week after. That was all over the dirt sheets that he was going to be on the January 11th Raw and his new gimmick and all that shit, which is true.
Happy
That's
birthday
what
to
ended
me.
up happening. Yeah, there you go. So we didn't go in with any expectations to this show. And it just, you could get a buzz and a vibe as the show went on. So we'll watch the match, we'll talk about it, but I can already promise you I'm going to be completely irrational in what this is all about, this match here, because it's just, I get swept up. I don't usually someone that gets like goosebumps. I get physical goosebumps when like that glass breaks and the end happens to that
Right.
match. Like, it definitely means a lot to me historically. But you want to quickly talk about the categories that we rank these in, and then we'll get into the match?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, look, we've been ranking things in 5 different categories. We each give a score out of 10, which gives us a nice round score out of 100 since we each give a score. The first is match quality, then significance, the moment, the build, and the aftermath.
Aftermax.
In the aftermath, absolutely. This is the Inside Wrestling edition.
Yes, it is. All right, so we're queued up. I'm on Peacock. Aaron's on the Scandinavian Network.
Hey, man. Anne Frank wasn't found in Scandinavia.
All right, so I am paused at 1:20:44 if you're on Peacock. It's not a very long match at all, so we're going to dive right in and we'll talk about it.
1:20:22 on the Netherlands network.
Okay, there you go. All right, let's count it in 3, 2, 1, play.
So I had this spoiled.
Well, I would think most people did. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a week later.
Like I had a friend come in. I remember I was in theater school and we were both fans, and you cling to those people that are wrestling fans. And he came in on like the Wednesday and was like, "Oh, you're going to be happy," because he was a big at the time. He was really into The Rock, and he
Right.
was like, "You ever have a friend who's like really into something, but so into it that it's annoying,
Mm.
and so you like it a little less?" That's how he was with The Rock. So when he won the tournament, like in retrospect, like at the time, I remember thinking that's a good decision, but this guy was so fucking annoying with it that, and his interesting. He's a friend of mine, has a similar name to you. Yeah. So anyway, like, but just a very obnoxious person.
Yeah.
I do like all of DX coming down with him.
Well, it's some good solidarity
Yeah.
because DX had been in a war with the corporation through the whole back end of '98, and even earlier in the night, right? They the whole thing with Shawn Michaels, where he finally turned on the corporation and he gets beat up outside, and it looked like he was going to reside with DX.
Yeah.
That heel turn did not last long for Shawn. Was it like 3 weeks? Because I believe it's December 7th. I remember it was my birthday episode when he turned on X-Pac and cost him the match on
Right.
Raw, hit him with a chair, and this is December 29th. So he's already out of the corporation as the corporate commissioner. I think he lasted that one pay-per-view. This is also during the Mankind Weird Rock remix music before, which I like.
I like it too.
I feel like it actually makes this moment better because it's such a cool song to be playing underneath like the celebration. The old one wouldn't have worked. And the new one just wasn't. Yeah, but it wasn't there yet. Like it wasn't his song, and like it would have felt like, I don't know, like he needed to win one under the old song.
Yeah, this is also during the Rock in a tracksuit era.
Yes, hiding his titties, which is fine.
Are you bothered when you see the word titties written with the letter D? Titties.
I've been online way too long to be bothered by stupid spelling. Yeah, so I like DX doing the solidarity. I love the corporation here. Like we've talked about this quite a bit, especially when we were talking about like Breakdown and Deadly Games. But the corporation from like September to Mania is like peak $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, there was no peak ever for the $1 million corporation.
It's certainly better than that.
Yeah, peak corporation, Vince McMahon corporation. Testa just showed up. You got Shane in the ref shirt because that's how this all got built earlier.
He's a lowly referee.
Yeah, Shane. Well, he's past that, but he was refereeing a match and he screwed Mankind out of. Mankind was fighting Triple H for the #1 contender.
That's right.
And he screwed him. Hunter took the win. Shane screwed him, and then Hunter said like "Merry Christmas." He punched Shane, and then Mick put him in like an arm bar until Vince agreed to give him the title match. Now it seemed ridiculous that he would win the belt here because he had just had a pay-per-view title shot. We had the Rumble not far off. They were continuing the feud. It didn't feel like something they would do on a Raw. Like it felt like this was going to be
bullshit.
Just like a schmoz, DX and the corporation fight, match gets thrown out. rematch at the Rumble. Like it felt like that's where we were headed
Yeah.
while we were sitting there.
This whole night too is an all-time great Vince night that no one talks about.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, get that fucking shit out of the chat. Vince storming around and angry, like it's such good stuff. I hate that Mankind is still wearing the Job Squad T-shirt underneath.
Well, and the shirt's all ripped up. Like he definitely looks like a slop. I mean,
does he just have one shirt that he's worn for all these months?
It feels like it. Yeah, I think it just keeps getting ripped apart.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is kind of a goofy look, but I love Vince with the winter look, no tie. He's got like the more of a houndstooth coat on versus like the normal one. And this match, I like it because it's pure. It's a sprint and it's chaotic. It's like they're 2 minutes in and Rock is beating him with stairs on the floor. You know what I mean? It's like,
but destroying him with stairs, not just beating him. Like
he's smashing him with them. And
like
Vince,
shots that should end his life.
And I love it's subtle because you don't realize it while it's going, but like they're constantly showing Vince and Shane on the aisle.
Yeah.
And he's like excited, and that pays off at the end when he wins. When Mankind wins and he does a big gulp and he's in shock on the ramp because they've been showing him the whole time and his arrogance. It pays off at the end when he's like, "Fuck, we got screwed."
I think one of my favorite moments is when Austin's music hits. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but who cares? Everybody knows what this is.
Fast. Yeah.
The music hits and they cut to Vince and he's trying to calm down everyone. Like he's like, okay, like he's still.
We'll get by. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
We're actually right here. We're like, I don't know if you can see us, but we're like 6 rows back on the floor, right behind the announcers.
Oh, behind the announcers.
Yeah. So we had like awesome seats. Like It was
perfect
like a dream night
for seeing like someone come down to the ring.
Oh, it was a dream night. Like. Yeah, I mean, I've been to some big pops. Like I was at the Scott Steiner debut. I was the Hardys return at 33. Ben for whatever it is now, Benoit at 20. Like I've been at some really loud pro wrestling moments. To me, still nothing compares.
Because this is visceral. Yeah. It's not so like the Hardys, it's joy. Right? Like it's joy. Like I would argue that like even Benoit is joy. This is like
Benoit was relief. Benoit was relief that he didn't tap out. That was relief. The closest I think might have been I was at the Raw before Invasion when Austin comes from the friendly tap with the pool cue and kicks the shit out of the Alliance. That might be the closest I've had to this, where it was just like pure insanity and everyone losing their mind as he was cleaning house. But this, I mean, to me, like I said, I get that it's so for all the shit Kevin Dunn gets. Oh, great rock bottom on the table. Just fucking everyone's losing their mind right now.
I love that Vince kind of is looking hurt for Mick even here. Like, oh my god.
For all the shit Kevin Dunn, and rightfully so, gets being a piece of shit and a terrible director. He gets this one right, whether it's him or Kerwin Silfies or whoever calls the shot. When that glass breaks and they go wide, and you see everyone stand up at the same time, it's like the timing is immaculate.
Stand, jump. Like it's not stand. It's people are jumping for joy.
Right. And the cool part is, we weren't privy to Sean earlier in the night saying you guys might be in for a Stone Cold surprise. He says that on a backstage thing that they didn't show in the arena. So we had no clue. Like everyone said Austin was coming back on January 11th. Undertaker's coming back on January 11th. There was no rumor at all that Austin was going to be at this show.
Yeah.
I think at home got spoiled a little bit, but it didn't matter because everyone already knew by then anyway, because it was a taped show, right? So like they didn't, it was either taped after or they didn't show it to us, whatever it was. But we weren't privy to the Stone Cold surprise line. So when that glass breaks, that's like pure imagination. It's just like, like just pure reaction. There was no expectation that it was about to come out.
Yeah. I love Shane, like whenever he interferes, his arm is still hurting him from earlier in the night. What a piece of shit Shane is. Like,
This is Tess, fresh off the road of Motley Crue.
That's right. And fucking badass Ken Shamrock standing there like he's gonna murder someone.
Kane's out there. This is when they're cucking him in the corporation.
That's right. Yeah.
Even Billy looks fucking cool right now.
Well, yeah, because he's the first one to jump in, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like
Yeah, it felt like a war. Like it felt like important. It's like
Is-
DX is out there because they need to counteract because they're done with the corporate bullshit
Is
and they're
this
done
the
with Mankind getting hosed.
is this the only the title change where both guys are at their absolute worst look?
Probably.
Yeah.
Although
they were-
it makes us even like hit more that Rock is wearing this stupid outfit for this match for some
I know.
reason. Like it's because this is one where you could argue if he didn't always wear this, it'd be easier to argue like, well, he just wasn't prepared to wrestle. Like he wasn't supposed to
Yeah.
have this match, you know.
Vince's glee on the people's elbow is amazing. He's like, oh, he's so happy that he hit it.
Oh, he knows this is it. Like Mankind's a stooge. Like they're not in any way really worried about this match, right? Because they're thinking, all right, we have our whole team out here. This dude's just in the end, he's a perennial loser. He can't beat The Rock.
Speaking of losers, look at Road Dogg.
Yeah, big time. But even he looks cool here.
Yeah, I'm freaking pissed off Vince. Vince is so good here.
God, that Troop 69 shirt is so fucking 90s. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you said 69.
Ooh.
He's cool.
You know, 2 years ago, my 6-year-old played football and they gave him number 69.
It feels like they shouldn't allow that number.
No, I don't think they should at all.
Yeah.
And he's like, why? Why are people laughing? I'm like, I can't explain this to you now.
Was he up against number 420?
Oh, that'd be the best.
Tess looks cool. They all look cool.
I know.
This is such a vibe. This is like a low key match that I would show someone that wants to understand what the Attitude Era was like. Like there's other stuff you think of, Hell in a Cell and some Austin shit, but like this match really to me is like the epitome of this era. Like I know it's not the best match. I know there's like bigger stuff, but the crowd, the hype, and I also think, you know, I like a modern day Michael Cole, but this era of Cole is terrible. But in this match, I think he's really good. I actually think he's really, really good.
Yeah.
Maybe Vince is at ringside not producing him is a part of it. I don't know.
Screaming at him?
Yeah, but it's like I think he's great. Like he tells the story.
Yeah.
His excitement matches the moment. He's not doing as much of the hyperbole.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here comes Shamrock.
So
I've rewound to this part about 1,000 times.
Here we go.
Yeah. Billy Gunn knocks him out of the ring.
I got to hear the pop. I jacked it up.
Yeah.
This shot right here. You can see they're getting ready for the wide shot. I mean, just like everyone stands at the same time.
Yeah. And he's he's walking with such purpose too.
Oh yeah, you know he's coming to fuck him.
Yeah, Vince trying to come.
Stay calm, stay calm. I love this chair shot too because everyone's like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!" Yeah. Like, here we go. It's happening. It's happening.
Yeah, and no one else is jumping in, but they're all occupied. And Vince
just
is
that.
watching.
Oh my god, that sustained buzz from the glass until here. Like that sustained buzz is insane.
And then he throws his hat at him. And Vince starts cursing the heavens.
Oh, like, it's so good.
Oh,
the cuts. This is one time where the done quick cuts work so well because you're soaking everything in. It's like Foley with the belt. Vince is losing his mind. Austin's laughing it up. It's like,
yeah.
And I like that Austin gets out of there. Like then you give Foley his moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Rock's all fucked up.
Yep. And I like that they had DX celebrate with him. It's not like a Mega Powers type thing where like they're taking the moment because Foley's story. Well, his story's all about acceptance, right? It's like he's being accepted by the people. He was always a weirdo and a lovable loser and an oddball, but now he's being accepted by the cool kids. He's being accepted by the fans, and it's his crowning moment in the schoolyard, right? He's getting paraded around the schoolyard by all the cool kids. So like that's what it felt like, and it's like just
Except
such
for
a
Triple H doing this. Triple H is never cool doing this.
The forced cool kid, Triple H.
The rest of them are cool, even the Road Dogg.
Yeah. Vince crying.
Yeah, because Vince goes through all these moments. He goes through like doubt, then he goes through like anger. Now he's like in slow acceptance. Oh, and there's one more moment they're about to have where they announce him as champion.
Yes.
And it seems to go through his body like poison, Vince. Like.
And then he does the Yo Adrian, we did it.
I mean
it's definitely one that, like I said, to me holds completely test of time.
Here they're about to announce.
Yeah, they had Road Dogg do it with the shtick, which was smart.
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's such a His reaction is so perfect. And then they cut back to him and he's breathing heavy.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
He
The whole
just
thing's
can't-
brilliantly done.
Yeah.
It's like a ballsy move too to do it on a taped Raw that's going to run against a major Nitro. Like I know they were pretty much winning regularly at this point, but I think it was still a little back and forth. But to run it taped and give away, I mean, it gets smart. Like, you know, as much as Shivani and Bischoff do the whole butts in the seats, like it did,
Yeah.
it worked. Like people
Yeah.
tuned over.
Yeah,
Like I
because
said,
everyone loved Mick Foley.
Yeah,
It's
everyone
like,
loves Foley, right?
it's not like it's not like it was like Roman Reigns in 2015.
Right, like someone that no one cares. Like everyone, this is a big moment. Mick Foley winning his first world title.
Yeah, a guy who was clearly good enough to be world champion in WCW also.
There you go, AJ. We did it.
Yeah, Billy Gunn sitting on the chair like he was like, is he tired? Like, did he have a big night before this?
I don't remember if he wrestled earlier.
Ugh.
Yeah, I just remember leaving, just buzzing the arena like after this. Like I was like, we were flying high. We took a limo because it was snowing. My mom didn't want us to drive, so she got us a limo.
That's funny.
So like we all piled back into the limo and just were like, holy shit. Like just I mean it was like your sports team one. Like I just remember hugging people, high-fiving people in the crowd, random people. Like it was just like this insane, pure moment of like just a likable dude getting his moment. And the story, and I'm going to factor this into my build, the story of Mick Foley in the WWF in his career building to this moment, because that's part of the entire, that's a part of the entire story, right? That they tell within this angle is that Foley's always been the loser, the guy, the stooge who gets set up and used. And, his whole career, he's been the weird outcast, and he finally wins it after his long journey, sleeping in the car. Like Cole tells it during the post-match, right? So that is my flex. I wrote a whole article about it.
Yeah, that is a bit of a weird flex.
Take a limo to the Raw. Well, my favorite part was when we pull up in the limo, they dropped us off at the front of the Centrum, and everyone stormed the limo thinking like wrestlers or something. We're getting out of limo, and then we pile out. A bunch of morons pile out, and they're like, oh. But
look at that guy's long hair.
Must be cool. Not then. All right. So let's get to our categories then.
So this is a bit of a tricky one, right? Like, so look, for match quality, it's weird. If I was just ranking this on one category, like if I was saying, what is this experience top to bottom?
Right.
It's probably, for me, it's a 5-star experience. And we've talked about this before, where it's like, I understand Hogan Andre is not a technical masterpiece, but as a whole, it's a 5-star experience. Ultimate Warrior beating Honky Tonk Man at SummerSlam is a 5-star experience. So that's what I would say about this too. But because we have all the other match qualities, all the other categories, I don't think in this particular instance I could rank the match 5 stars.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I think I'd rank it probably around a 3.5. I like the sprint. I like the energy. I like what both guys do. And that'll give me a score of 7 for match quality. Which
I'm going to match that. I'm going to match.
I think higher than I would have thought, but
I think it's over exceeding expectations when you look at it. It's like a 9-minute match. That's a brawl around the ring. Like, really, I mean, it's, it's kind of get the Montreal factor to it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the chaotic feel and like everything going on around it adds to the moment. Like, the Montreal match, you could argue, is probably not like a great match, but because of everything that goes into it and the story and the history and the moment, brings it up a level, right? The intensity of it. So
exactly.
All right. Significance.
I don't know how high I can go. Like it's aside from like I just put as a default 5. I don't know if I can go higher. I might be convinced to go lower, but it's like it makes Mick a main eventer, a world champion, I guess. But
it definitely legitimizes him, because to this point he was still the guy that was just brought up to use in main event title matches that you needed like a monthly contender, right? Like that's what was it, Mind Games, Revenge of the Taker. Even Dude Love is probably the closest he got. But then they made him the patsy all through the fall. Like it never seemed like he was going to be the one. And Tim just, our producer Tim throws in the Nitro factor, the butts and the seats. That's a significant moment. Everyone sneaks over to Raw, helps swing the ratings.
Maybe I'll bump it up for that.
And it's Foley's. Mick Foley becomes a world champion on a taped Raw.
But he is and he's not. Like he's never, like, as much as he's the world champion here, He's not the world champion the way The Rock is. He's not the
No,
world
but there's
champion the
tiers
way
of it.
Austin is. Yeah, but he's not even.
But
I
that's
would
why it's not a 9.
Yeah, but I don't even think it could get that high, like because of it, because he's never looked at as like a main eventer on the same level as those guys. Now that's almost unfair, right? I think it's
Yeah,
a
but
little unfair.
think of what comes from this that he probably wouldn't have had before this, right? So he gets multiple more pay-per-view title matches. Fine, he's had some of those. Becomes the Chef Boyardee commercial guy, right? He hadn't really done commercial stuff, hadn't really become presented. Number 1 times bestseller. I don't know if that happens if he doesn't become a guy that's, in the world title picture that had elevated to that level. He main events WrestleMania 2000 as part of that. He probably is not a WrestleMania main eventer unless he's elevated to the world title contention. So I think, and I don't know if he helps elevate Triple H in the world title picture either, if he's not hadn't been at that level over the year before, because it would have been Dude Love again in '98. So I think it made him. It showed that they had the faith in him to pull the trigger, and that makes those matches later potentially feel like there's some drama and some stakes to it. Like, does he win SummerSlam '99 if he didn't win here already for the title? Without that drama in him in the mix, we don't know that he could be world champion at that point. He feels like a throwaway. But at least then he's established as a world championship guy that they can get behind enough to put the title on. I'm only going a little bit. I'm going to go 6 because, again,
well, that's what I'm going because I bumped it up. But
but that's why I'm at a 6. I do think it leads to a lot of different stuff, and the moment of him, the butts in the seats. I think there's enough there that.
Yeah, I think for me it's a 5, and the butts in the seats bumps it up to a 6 because as much as I think I just disagree with your premise in terms of I think you might be stretching a bit to say that he doesn't get to 2000 without this moment. Maybe, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a perfectly fine hypothesis, and it might be true, but I'm not quite seeing that and it's really based on how they treat him as a world title contender every other time going forward. So again, yeah, that's why it's not a 9 or a 10 for me, right? As opposed to a 6. I think it's a fine score.
All right, moment I think is quite easily a 10.
10.
Yeah. I think it's one of the few that if I could go higher, I would. We've had some 10s.
It's in the conversation for greatest moment ever, right?
I think of all these title changes we've done so far, this I think is the best moment.
What else have we put 10? We put Bret and Undertaker 10. I'd say
Hogan
better
Sheik.
than that.
Okay, maybe Hogan Sheik. The 92 Rumble, I think this is a better moment than Flair winning the Rumble. Savage beating Flair at 8. I love it. I would have this slightly better than that. Bret Taker for sure. Montreal, I guess, is in the conversation.
Well, Montreal's just a different. Those are the hardest ones to compare because this is a moment of joy versus a moment of infamy, right?
Yeah. So I think it's at least in the conversation for the best ever.
Yeah.
For the build, I'm going the full 10. Again, it plays off of all the corporation stuff all through the fall. I know it plays off them using Mankind as a patsy at the greatest angle of all time. We give it 10. But did we give it 10 last time or no? Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, the build.
Right, so that's all part of that, right? Because you got Yerpel, you got the dad, you got the bedpan. That all builds toward this. You got the rock bottom fuck finish. And then when you layer in on top of it, all of Mick Foley's career trajectory that leads to this moment, because that's part of the story. They tell that story on all the weeks leading up and on this night, that this is the end of his career. If he retired after this, it's his career is a story. And they tell that story throughout the match and the post-match. Again, slept in his car, trained all these years, never won the big one, finally wins the big one. This is his moment, right? Something like the boyhood dream stuff. And then you put in Austin getting his revenge on McMahon and The Rock after they fucked him at Breakdown, right? He comes out, he gets his payback. You get the DX piece. And then we're not even talking about the story throughout that Raw where we just talked about, right? Shane gets his arm twisted, Vince gives in. So we have a small story within the show. We have the story from Deadly Games to here between Mankind and The Rock. We have the story of Vince using Mankind that goes back to really Dude Love. If you think about it, Vince is using him as a stooge from Dude Love, puts him in the cell against Undertaker, puts him with Kane, uses him at Deadly Games. Then you layer in Austin McMahon on top of it all. It's got everything, and then Foley's career. So to me, it's got 5 or 6 stories in one, and that build leads. If you didn't have that much hype and build and anticipation, you don't get that pop and that pure ecstasy and joy because of the story of Mankind and Mick Foley finally winning the big one.
Yeah,
Like if that's X-Pac in that match or even Triple H, it's not getting that moment.
No, I would agree that that's. I struggle with like how far to go back with these builds, like because in theory you could do that for anyone. It's like when Randy Savage won the title the first time, or even the second time, like we could have built off of the snake bite, and before that it was the retirement.
Well, I think we kind of did when we talked about 8. We talked about his whole journey and walk up to that, like his whole he had retired, he came back, Flair. I mean,
yeah, but then to me, like we rank that a 7, right? And like,
but Savage had been world champion before. Like to me,
yeah,
that
I know, but like
look, you can score it what you want.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you what
but I'm trying to articulate why I'm scoring it less than you, right? Because
you're a
like
cold-hearted bitch.
Maybe, or you're just a fucking Mankind mark.
On that night, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, and I really don't like the build from Deadly Game to this point.
I'd say that's the weakest part of all the story. That's the weakest part. For sure.
I always hated the fuck finish at Rock Bottom too.
Yeah.
Like so, and I think that's why, if anything, like I think without that run of like Deadly Game to here, I think without that, excuse me, I'm probably maybe at a 9, maybe at a 10, but it knocks a bit too much. I remember at the time, and I really remember at the time being completely bored with the product up until this moment. Right. And I think for me, that's got to play into the build, which is why I'm at an 8, which is still good. It's still among the highest, but it's not a 10.
All right, I'm saying a 10. I just think there's too much. I just think there's too much history layered in, and I know that sometimes you're like, oh, well, how far back do we go?
Yeah.
I mean, I think some stories have more, even though it doesn't have to just start at the last title change. Like to me, like just because we start at the last, we're just going title change to title change.
Sure.
There's stories that go beyond those title changes. Like when we do WrestleMania 15, we're not just going to factor in Valentine's Day Massacre to WrestleMania or whatever that Raw to WrestleMania 15, right? We're gonna tell the whole story of Austin McMahon, which is like a year long.
Yes, but it becomes less important like the further back it goes. I think so, because that's what we did with Savage. I think Savage, it's funny, I think Savage Flair is actually a great counterpoint to it, because like Savage Flair becomes an interesting build because Savage goes after Flair goes after Elizabeth. But we didn't factor in the whole drama of Elizabeth and getting back to Elizabeth that Savage went through.
Look, we can't let the mistakes of yesterday define our future, my friend.
You're just
like
saying
if we want to go back
like
and
this
fix
match.
That,
you're just saying.
I love
like
Savage. Savage Flair is like one of my favorite all-time matches.
Yes.
Didn't go down that path.
Is like your special match, and I get it. That's why
I told you that when we started that it was going to be overrated, and that's the life we're living right now. Pal.
So long as you admit it.
I didn't hide it. I admitted it from the start. That's literally the first thing I said when we started the show was I'm going to be completely unbiased. I would be completely biased, you know.
I'd like to go back and listen to when Sid beats Shawn Michaels, and I feel like I said the exact same thing at the beginning.
It just means like the story just means
a
lot, and I think you have to factor in the Austin stuff, and that's him getting revenge on the corporation by costing them and giving the title, and like the part I didn't mention either. Vince's whole fucking thing through this whole storyline since March is having the right corporate champion. He's obsessed with it. Austin is a degenerate piece of shit, and he would never back a stooge like Mankind because he's a fucking weirdo and sicko, and he would never be the guy. And they use him as a patsy. And so in the end, the two dudes that Vince did anything he could to keep the belt off because they're not the proper corporate champion that they could put the machine behind, is now your champion. So I like that's part of it too. Like they paid off Vince not wanting this weirdo fucking being your champion, and now look at him. Like King even says it. So it is part of the story. Like King says it in the commentary, like, oh my God, Vince, this is your corporate champion now. Like Mankind's your champion. Like he kept saying it throughout the match. So
I agree that it's part of the build. It's not getting me above an 8.
Whatever. All right. My aftermath, Look, I got to get this into the top, so I'm going to go 5.
You can't. Okay, I'm gonna go 1 then, if that's how we're doing.
No, I really do believe it's a 5 because I do believe it sets up again Foley as a world champion, allows them to then do what they want to do, which is kind of hot potato and eat time up to Mania. I don't think Rock is the type of champion that needed to have it for months before Austin because it's really Austin chasing Vince's guy, right? So it could have been anyone in that Rock slot at that point. So I think it gives them.
Well, no, because you got to go back to December '97 when they started feuding, and he threw the Intercontinental title.
Well, it adds to it. It definitely means more.
Or how about Survivor Series '96? It's the night of Austin's best
and
night
Rock's
and the Rock debut. You know,
you could. But my point is, the true base story was Austin McMahon. So it allows them to then spend the next couple of months hot potatoing and having some memorable title changes and matches. Makes Mankind and Rock an all-time feud, right? That you can trump as, but you don't think it is?
No.
An all-time series?
No.
No.
Where's the all-time? Like, look, if something
it's an all-time historically like people remember Mankind versus The Rock from 98, 99. That's like in WWF canon. It's a memorable storyline that they talk about for years.
Yeah, I just don't think it's that good a storyline between them.
It leads to Rock and Sock, and all those years later, like that's all this comes out of this.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, look, I'm not saying it's nothing, but I don't think it's like. I feel like there's much more. I think Triple H Rock is a more memorable feud than this.
Yeah, but so you don't think Rock and Sock, the highest rated segment in WWF history, like that all comes from them having this feud and Rock finally sort of accepting Mankind, them becoming a tag team, leading to like the highest rated segment ever.
I feel like you're giving the Rock the writing a bit too much credit of tying those in, but I don't disagree that the
of course
Rock
it ties in. Why that was the whole story that Rock treats him like a piece of shit for most of the year, and then he finally accepts
the whole time.
Yeah, but he finally like kind of accepts him in, and then it really pays off later when he finally really does accept him in. Was it 2004 or whatever the fuck? When he finally,
I love the payoff when he saves him from Triple H when he's handcuffed. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
I don't view this as like an all-time rivalry from the era. I just don't like.
I think they do, and that's what's more important.
Maybe, but like I mean, like for me, Austin Foley is a bigger rivalry than this. Like Undertaker Kane is the bigger rivalry.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's the biggest.
Austin Undertaker is a bigger rivalry,
but it is an all-time Attitude Era rivalry. It's up there. You have Austin McMahon, you have Austin Undertaker Kane, Rock Mankind, Rock Triple H. And Triple H Mankind, Triple H Cactus.
I see. I think Triple H Mankind is more memorable than Rock Mankind. And I know that sounds crazy. I like this series. It's just I don't view it as like in that stratosphere.
Well, this allows them to do it.
Yeah, but see, here's my point with the after why I'm going 3 instead of 5 is that I don't like the hot potato for the belt. I think this is where it felt. I know they've had instances where they've traded the belt back and forth before, but I found that like when they did it in say early 97, it felt like more of a consequence of what the storyline was and what the feel of the promotion was. Whereas this to me feels like they're just killing time for Austin Rock.
Maybe, but I think as a byproduct, it established Mankind as a guy that they put a world title on, which I don't think you would have thought of even like earlier that year. Like there was really no chance Dude Love was beating Austin earlier in the year.
Mankind for me is a world champion the same way the Miz is a world champion.
I don't think so.
Why not?
I think he's above that.
Why?
I think it's just a bigger era, and he was a more memorable star.
I agree he's a more memorable star. I agree he's better, but like when you look at their title reigns or things like that, like they didn't trust Mick enough to main event WrestleMania.
They wanted to, but I think the story was Austin McMahon.
I agree that's the move. But
they wanted there was conversation of Austin Mankind.
But that's why I think that he's
and he does main event Mania the next year.
Like, and I know it sounds devaluing to Mick Foley to say he's like, I'm not trying to shit on Miz and I'm not trying to shit on Mick Foley. I think Mick Foley is about a bazillion times better than the Miz. I just think in terms of who they are as world champions, to me, they're very similar. Because this even feels like this is a fluke win, right? He's not even presented as a strong winner in the match, right?
Yeah, but he's had a lot of losses he shouldn't have had, so I think it equals out. But I think I think there's like different levels of world champion, right? So I think there's strapping up a guy and being the face of the company,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of merit to strapping up a guy to legitimize him as a main event contender to make future main event title matches feel legitimate, and also a guy that you can tout as a former world champion that can be in that mix, right? So if that was the goal with Miz too, I don't know, sure, but like I think with Mankind, he wasn't a true world title challenger in a believable way until he won the world title, and then they could use him as a threat. Like
So
I said,
did you not believe him against Austin as
no,
Dude Love?
no.
Well, I
Unless
mean,
they,
just the timing. This is the time. Did you not believe him in the Deadly Game tournament?
No, well, it's all for the same reason. If like because McMahon would orchestrate a big screw job to make him champion, right? Like it's not like, but I don't think he was believable enough to be a world champion guy on his own. Like I don't until after he won it, then you could say, well, okay, they obviously believe enough in him to put the belt on him. Maybe he could win now.
Yeah, I guess my whole thing is that because of what they do with him as champion, to me, he's never elevated to that point. And it's not that I like him
He's
less.
more believable later against Triple H than he would have been if he had never won it before.
I don't know, because the Triple H feud, maybe, but we don't
It's tough
know.
because we know he's leaving.
Yeah, but also like the Triple H feud is not really about the title. It's about a personal
But he
feud.
could have won at the Rumble and it would have been believable.
Sure, but I don't know if he needed this win to establish that, because I mean,
They only went
he
one
wouldn't
way.
have beat.
It's the
He
way I'm
couldn't.
defending.
I know, but he couldn't beat him as Mankind. He had to go to Cactus Jack, who's got nothing to do with this feud, right?
Yeah,
That was the whole thing, is that he made Triple H scared, and like.
Yeah, but it was just to get the character out there. Anyway. All right. So that gives us a total score of 72,
Yeah.
which, my friend, on the back of your grades, makes this tied with WrestleMania 8 for our 7th best title change
That's
of all
funny.
time.
It's tied with 8.
Yep.
Wow. And what's our tiebreaker is significance?
Yeah. So WrestleMania 8 finishes above because we had the total significance
of 12 versus 10 here.
No, actually, wait. What am I looking at? No, 8.
Yeah, no, it should be ahead of.
It should be ahead. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And it's funny. I didn't bring up WrestleMania 8 as an example because of I had no clue, right?
Right. All right, so that is now our official 7th best title change of all time.
Nice. All right, so should we break down the top 10?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can bring your complaints along. Like again, I told you it was going to be overrated.
You shouldn't complain. Like, look, everything you're saying. The only reason I'm pushing back as hard as I am is because you at the beginning you said you're going to be biased, and that's fine. I love this whole thing. Like, I think it's brilliant and beautiful, and like. So don't think.
I think it goes to show, like, again, we talk about this often. Our criteria is different, right? Because like in no world would you have come into this and think, oh, it's going to be above the Ultimate Challenge.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's going to be above Brett and Diesel at Survivor Series 95. Like, it's crazy, but we just factor in so many other minutia,
And look, the difference in our opinion here, I really believe, comes down to the fact that I dislike the build from Deadly Game to this point substantially more than you probably, and I don't like the hot potatoing after. And those are the factors. Like, those are the factors that have changed. That's the only real difference between us here.
Yeah. All right, so let's go through our top 10. Producer Tim's gonna throw it up for us.
Yeah. So it's funny. I never would have expected that at number 10.
Yes.
Number 10, we got Hulk Hogan defeating Randy Savage with 69 points from WrestleMania 5.
Yeah, we'll see how much longer it's on this list. But we talked about this too. Like, slots 4 through 10 are going to change a lot. It's 1 through 3 that I think is going to be tough. But like 4 through 10, there's not a lot of separation in here. So we're going to see, I think, a lot like pop in and out. Number 9 is the match we talked about last episode, The Rock defeating Mankind, Survivor Series 1998.
Yeah, number 8 is the match we talked about a lot, surprisingly, on this show. Randy Savage defeating Ric Flair, 72 points, WrestleMania 8.
Now, number 7, in what some may say is not one of the most memorable feuds in WWE history, but has 2 matches on this list. Mankind defeated The Rock on the January 4th, 1999 Raw.
Yeah, well, when the feud has more to do with other people than them, it's not as memorable. Number 6, Andre the Giant defeating Hulk Hogan from the main event. See, that's a memorable feud.
Number 5, Hulk Hogan. That's why it's higher. Number 5, Hulk Hogan defeated the Iron Sheik with 76 points. January 84.
I would say that's not a memorable feud.
No, not a feud at all.
Number 4, yeah, just a destruction. Number 4, Ric Flair winning the 92 Royal Rumble with 78 points.
Number 3, Bret Hart defeating The Undertaker at the SummerSlam 1997 with 90 points. So there's that big jump from 4th to 3rd.
Yeah. Number 2, Steve Austin defeating Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 14, 93 points.
And our top title change of all time as of this recording, Shawn Michaels defeating Bret Hart at Survivor Series 1997 in Montreal with 94 total points. So, I mean, I think it's a strong list. Again, I think the Ultimate Challenge is one that you probably look at and think, all right, that should be probably in the mix.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else to me jumps out hard that should be inside that top 10, So I guess maybe WrestleMania 4, Savage DiBiase, but
yeah, but we didn't at that point. We weren't factoring in 4 years of past history like we did tonight, so
yeah.
You can understand why it's lower.
I mean, it wasn't. So,
It was.
Anyway, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. We'll continue this all-time series. We still got 3 matches left to chronicle in the Mankind Rock series. So if you're a fan of them, enjoy. If you hated this argument, you're probably going to hate the next 3. We'll be back in a month with that. In 2 weeks, we'll be back with another draft like we do here at Noel's Bar. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching right now, just hit the button. Leave us a comment. Leave us a like. You can get audio feeds as well on any podcatcher app, North South Connection, or go to northsouthconnection.com. for all of our content is available to you there. So Dookie's been dropped. We're out. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Bye, Jockass.